Okay. 5 days to white sun preparation, winter solstice. Improviser Augustine the First meditation reflections and public discourse. So this is approaching night fallacies when the synagogue goes down for the day and everything that was inclined during the day starts to set in with the lunar body, the mean eye. So it's night fallacy, right? What happens at night? When you go home and you've worked all day, what happens at night? You socialize a bit and go to bed. That kind of thing. And what the unhealthy, toxic cults do is focus the people's, especially our clansmen, on psyche, on toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. So it's now time to talk about constructively about our bodies and a wee bit about our sexuality. So let's start with emprx forum legalities, right? Comp Caesar international legalities. From the data that we have reviewed, empiricism, scientific methodology, it's pretty much apparent that third world and fourth world nations, graded, surveyed, manualed, are incapable of maintaining habeas corpus in all their acres. Carnal laws, right? Which means that the ancient trade houses specializing in illegal trafficking of human beings and their cults, the gluttons, basically use freedom of religion, which is a key component of the legality, the Constitution, to kind of corrupt our bodies, make us weak, foment genocide. So the concept is habeas corpus, carnal laws, legality, and after a while, the clansmen get accustomed to it, even though it causes them endemia and demented, unhealthy societies. They know that. They just can't resist it, right? So we got to address our sexuality. So what they do is teach perverted antisocial ideas to virgins and families, especially naive and unskilled. Suggestions, xenophonic, ethereal feelings in the environment, heightened sexuality, low sexuality, pointing out the human form. So, encouraging incest, homosexuality, heterosexuality, anything that seems self gratifying, right? That critiques your curiosity to something new is likely them. Very, very infrequently do you feel self gratified, like carnal, about an object or a feeling in your home or the acres outside or your villa where it's not a glutton trying to entrap you and enchattle your people. Honestly, in my experience, 41 years now, and the advice of the ancestors and the ancestral citizens and legions, auxiliaries, and our healthy culti, it is always the slave raiding culti and trade houses specializing in illegal human trafficking. So back to what I wrote. All right, let's see here. So further to that, you just have to realize that you're going to have to bear sexual noises from neighbors, um, demented calling out, barbaric babbling in the hood, especially in the urban ghetto. Uh, Maybe even barbaric wolf calling, that kind of thing, where they try to convince you there's an especially attractive mate somewhere in the environment, lure you out somewhere, whatever, right? They generally follow the same pattern because they're doing it by proxy from Hades, right? So they might convince some contemporary followers to engage in these barbaric, demented activity for a period. They often get arrested or stopped in other ways, right? Or forget and start doing something else or whatever. Proxy. So I'm going to talk about my own experience and the things they teach. So these cults, they often scare the thinkers, right? Full citizenship, 64th peerage, freeborns, into fearing philosophical institutions that teach you the fundamental skills in how to survive and be successful. So so that they can indoctrinate you with demented philosophy, deprecating philosophy, and convince you through these ancient techniques to turn against your people. Anyway, back to my own body. Now, to the auxiliaries of a settled harmony practicing European courtship, I'm what's called a Norman liege, in that elementally I set manifestations of weather into action, right? So, years in advance. So, I'm a component of that anyway. So, the reason they use the word liege is because in the ancient times, the auxiliaries who were habituated uh, to the major civilizations, they would have self preservation land parcels. And in the from the newly conquered lands, they would draw labor, often chattel born, which are felchield to a chieftain. Now, through treaty and administrative control measures, etc., the chieftain would often agree to lend or in some way support these lieges, right? These cognitive lieges to work on the acres in exchange for their chieftain being granted title and caustic things and whatever the situation was. They were all unique, all organic. They fit the situation. From these agreements came the auxiliaries, and a certain amount of divine order was established. This is, of course, after the downfall of humanity from a relatively small knit group of people who were organized to a society that sold each other into chattel slavery, or chattel, whatever we want to call it. The English call it chattel slavery. So, uh, anyway, so my own liege body. So it's a preoccupation with these ancients. What is the liege doing? You understand? That's because they want to not only raid vulnerable chattel born and carry them off to work for them or kill them or seize land, right? Seize acres. They have the same technique since ancient time. They draw attention constantly to what the leaders are doing, right? They call the leader of these of the traditional agriculture society liege. So I'm a grand liege. So we have to address this. So I'm often filthy with semen or whatever from the sex act, right? Or grime from work. The other issue is Caesar, right? I'm improviser Augustine the First Caesar. In ancient times, they ordained ministries would ensure that the Caesar was always in uh, stately posure, right? Everything was planned out, choreography controlled. Unfortunately, we're not, and provided nothing. So we have to make do. So, in reflection of that, and the advice of the ancestors, I often lower my head in physical labor, which does, and I do it limitedly now that I know that it does it, trigger carnal fleshmongering among the culti engaged in chattel raiding. Now, these contemporary scholars, they blame First Nations, they blame other continents. You just never know who's going to respond to chattel raiding in their culti. So anyway, that's just something we're gonna have to make do in all Caesarum. So unfortunately, for the significant part of my life, 41 years, the extraordinary monarch, the extraordinary monarchy, and the Legion my main Kampf, by the very is kind of haggard. They hagger us, right? They demagoguery us. And that's what demagoguery is, basically chattel rating and their cults. Um, you'll hear the word a lot, demagoguery, if you pay attention to political media. So we've been denied resources for the last 41 years um, because uh, extreme dystopia and denounced vulgarity and the demagogues feeding on the people's deplorable conditions. Um, we citizen or clansman, we must remember to be compassionate towards all of my subjects and charges, no matter how intellectually endowed they are. Um, Notably, the clansmen are more like honeybees to me, right? And are vulnerable to denounced cults engaged in deranged and chattel illegal human trafficking. So they're vulnerable to this, right? So uh, we have to be vigilant. Like yeah, we have to be vigilant. And social engineering quote for this is make do. It's the darkest of ages. Canada, right, where I've come of age, is a third world country. I don't know how many times I heard, "Oh, we're a first world country, best in the world," right? It's uh, it's a third world country by the math, and for whatever reason, we're constantly being uh, maybe to inspire us. I don't know, but people that hear this on our media and schools and uh, social events, we're not a first world country here. We're a third world country. Anyway, um, my clansmen are more like bees, and human trafficking's been going on for centuries, millennia. Is not going to disappear overnight. Is barbaric and denounced. Uh, However, we're going to have to bear it for quite some time. I know the conditions in the streets are deplorable. We're always covered in filth. We're always on. That said, if you are able to, it's our tradition uh, to clean your clothes, wash, keep your house straight, your villa straight. Anything, at least twice a year, wipe down uh, dust or more, depending. Keep a clean, orderly house, but don't go to extremes, right? These demagoguers, they're gonna give you anxiety, right? Uh, you know, um, you got to prioritize, right? You got to train your mind. Uh, Demagogues, they kind of give you the impression that uh, everyone's kind of peering in your house or something, right? Or kind of judging you, right? And unfortunately, that's what demagogues do. They turn whole regions of people against each other. They fight in genocide. And then whoever's weakest, they enchattle. And that's the technique. It's the home, the villa. They ruin the family life and sack whole regions. And they've been doing it for centuries and millennia. When we say ancient, it's older than our public record indicates, right? On the internet, books available, freely available. We are working on publishing more material, but that'll take time as well. So, in the third and fourth world countries, so there's a nation called Chad in Africa, and it's a fourth world country. Now, if this is a third world country, and we've got all these problems, I could just imagine the dreadful conditions the people of Chad are facing. So while we, in our known experience in the Britannic sphere of influence and beyond, are all third world countries, just remember with compassion that there's actually fourth world countries. And so habeas corpus is actually, criminal laws is actually, well, one component is occupying each other's bodies with objects, charmed objects, witchcraft, bollocks, foul doggers, uh, pictures, charming things, making the clansmen act wicked, right? What they call mental health and physical health publicly in the media. So my whole Worldicus Universe One is criteria meets the criteria extreme dystopia and denounce vulgarities, right? And the people are living in deplorable conditions. They're especially heinous with people living on the streets in regard to habeas corpus, often corrupting their flesh for uh, sadistic. Anyway, well, I can assume if you're tuning in to my meditation reflections, you're not living in the streets. And so we shall endeavor to keep it that way. So that's it. Really, it's the human trafficking cults. They generally attune the ethereal perception to your body, right? So genitals, Uh, 8 points. The top of your head, your hands, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, both hands, both feet, and your genitals. And of course, the sizer. So these are the 8 points that they charm in this process of enchatteling a whole region or a home or a villa. The fact is, it's just not our time as millennials and salient generation and baby boomers, Gen Z, right? We were born into extreme dystopian and announced vulgarities. So we must find the reservoirs to persevere. Okay, thank you. Improviser Augustine the First, shorthand.